This past week, we had our coaching cluster for pastors, which is kind of like a monthly gathering where we encourage one another. We do some training for Alliance pastors in our area. And one of the pastors told a story about a youth pastor who invited all the kids in his youth group to come to bring $5 to youth group. All of them did, all except one boy. And this boy came to youth group, learned that he forgot the money, whatever that was going to be used for. And so he was tempted to go home and just to leave. He didn't have what he was asked to bring. And so he goes back to his car about to leave, and he notices a cup holder full of loose change. And so he grabs as much loose change as he can, and he goes back into youth group thinking that, might be enough to satisfy the youth pastor. And so he puts the change right on the table along with all the dollar bills and $5 bills that other kids had brought. And just then, the youth pastor then explains what the purpose of the money was for. See, what they were going to do is evenly distribute all the money and then pray about who to give that money to in the community to meet some needs. And so the idea was, once they felt like they got a clear answer from the Lord, they were going to go out into different vans and then just drive around the community and just literally hand people the money. Well, this boy began to pray, and he didn't get an answer from the Lord. And he's praying, and nothing's coming to mind. But the youth pastor was in such a hurry that he wanted the kids to get out to the community before time ran out. And so they got into the cars, and they're driving. This boy's van literally goes by AutoZone, okay? And he sees a man on the corner of his eye who looks rather frustrated. He's over his car looking at it, with the hood up. And he yells at the driver. The boy yells at his driver. He's like, stop. That's the guy. So they pull over real quick. You can kind of like picture this scene. Van pulls over real quick. Boy runs out of the van and goes up to this stranger and says, Jesus wants you to have this money. Take care, God bless. And he gets back into the van. The van pulls off, right? The guy's just looking like, what just happened? The next day, the pastor gets a phone call from this same guy at AutoZone. And he tells him what happened. He says, I was driving from out of town, didn't have my wallet with me. My car broke down, and I had no idea how I was going to pay for this. And just as I had the hood open, looking over my car, wondering how this was all going to work out, a strange van pulls into AutoZone. A boy gets out, hands me a wad of money with some loose change, and says, Jesus wants you to have this. Take care. God bless. And just then he gets back into his car, and I look down. Keep in mind, they evenly distributed the money. They evenly distributed the dollar bills and the change that this boy had brought. He goes into AutoZone to go buy the part. Guess how much the part was? The exact change to the very penny. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that an amazing story? That's not even the best part. The best part is the pastor talking to this guy on the phone actually has a chance to pray with him and lead him to Christ right then and there. I mean, it's amazing, but think about it. Think about this. What if this kid would have turned right around, got into his car, and left youth group that day simply because he didn't have a $5 bill? What if he would have missed the blessing of giving to a man exactly what he needed it, to the exact change? And then, think about this. When the pastor tells the boy, imagine the excitement, imagine the joy that began to stir in his heart when he learned how God used him, when he learned the backstory behind all this, because he didn't know any of that. Now, I tell you that story because I think that's what God wants for all of us. We're kind of in the series cover to cover, but our theme this month is, this is how we change the world. And I really do believe that if you're a Christ follower, I know we got guests in here this morning, you're just checking this whole Christianity thing out, that's totally fine. But I'm talking about for believers who are following Jesus, I really do believe that God wants to use our generosity to change the world. Unfortunately, though, for so many believers, I think they're missing the blessing of giving. And that's why I want to title my sermon this morning in the form of a question. All right, here's the question, and here's the title. Are you missing the blessing of giving?